Yeah. Anyways, okay.
Yaakov, it sounds like you just found your retirement right there.
Yeah, maybe. I think there's a lot of work to be done on the app first, but I'm offering it to whoever wants it. Take my idea, no problem.
Thank you, Shipper.
All right, so let's see. New Perek, yes? So this is a short Perek. Now we're getting towards the end of nedarim. Now we get into how you matir nedarim. I think that's pretty much takes us the rest of the way of nedarim, how you go about being matir, either with a Pesach or with charata, right? So a Pesach is basically when a guy comes to be matir neder. So we tell him, had you known A, B, and C, would you have made this neder? It doesn't have to be A, B, and C. It's lav dafka. It could be A or B or C, but whatever. Had you known this and this would have been the ramifications, or had you realized that this and this would have been the ramifications of what you're doing wrong, of what you made a neder with, would you keep the neder? If he says no, had I realized this would be the results, then I would not be matir neder. So that's called a Pesach, and then the rabbi can be matir the neder. Right, so we're gonna have a bunch of scenarios. It's relatively these next few blot are relatively easy, I think. But when you learn it with chabura, you get things clear. So let's see. But it's a relatively easy. It's interesting hashkafic Machlokes in tonight's Gemara. So let's see. So Eliezer Omer, yeah, top line. Eliezer Omer, you provide a Pesach, right? A Pesach means literally a door or an opening for a person to be matir neder by saying that it's not covered for his parents, right? According to Rabbi Eliezer, you could tell a guy says, I want to be matir neder. Okay, what was your neder? I made a neder that I'm not going to drink wine. Right? So you said to the guy, okay, so, but your parents are embarrassed that you have the reputation that you're a neder guy. And we know that people are not supposed to make nedarim. So since you're embarrassing your parents, if you knew you were embarrassing your parents, would you have made the neder? So if he says, nope, I would not have made the neder. So that's a Pesach. According to Rabbi Eliezer, that's a Pesach, and now he can be matir his neder. Right? The Chachamim say no. Yeah, the Chachamim say no. We'll see on Amud Beis why the Chachamim say no. The Chachamim say that's not a Pesach. Yeah, fine. Amar Reb tzadok. So Reb tzadok says, this is not the Reb tzadok that you hear Musar Hashkaf about, right? Because what he's saying here could be, it sounds like a Reb tzadok thing. It does, right? Right, so Reb tzadok says, meaning if you're already making a Pesach because of the cover of his parents, why don't you give him a Pesach in cover amakom? He's saying Reb tzadok says, why can't you tell the guy, had you known that Hashem would be upset at you if you made a neder, would you have made the neder? And if the guy says no, okay, so then you can be matir the neder. Why stop at
separate times?
Is this every neder?
Oh, that's going to really the Gemara's.
What?
Yes, it's very hard to understand what he's saying, because if that's the case, every neder is out, right?
I mean, his mother was happy. She's been wanting him to lose weight for 25 years. He finally realized he's made it. He's going to lose 150 pounds. So what? His mother's happy. His mother's proud of him now. Why she's not proud? The guy's an alcoholic. So he's not going to drink wine. So his father's happy. He's not going to drink wine. The guy. So they cover the town is setting up a case, but they'll be embarrassed by the neder. So I'm setting up a case, but they'll be good by the neder. What?
I mean, there's certain neder, like said, neder not to smoke. Let's say, right?
Yeah,
that's a common question, right?
Okay,
guys make neder
very good.
Yeah,
very
right.
good.
So make a neder not to smoke, so the parents will be happy about that, right? Yeah, so it's just I think it seems like just the concept of making nedarim is like a bad simon. People are not. I don't know. It's people are not supposed to make nedarim. Like you get this reputation of a neder maker. I don't know. It doesn't seem like. Have we had anywhere in the Masechta that people are making nedarim for positives? Have we had any? I don't. Everything is always a negative. The guy wants to hack his wife. He wants to hack his friend. He wants to do nothing like that. Nothing that was ever. I don't know.
Only the one case
coming out now. What?
Only the one case of the Nazir who did it for the right reason.
Yeah, but a Nazir is by definition not good because he has to bring a chatas at the end. So it's by definition not good a Nazir.
Right.
Except that the Kohen Gadol said that one case was good.
Which
Okay,
case?
good.
Which
Thank
case are you saying?
When he
Shimon
looked in the
HaTzadik.
water, saw his reflection.
Shimon HaTzadik, yeah.
Oh, yeah. What was? Yeah.
He said, I won't eat from any chatas of a Nazir except for this one, Sham Nazir, except for this one.
Except that's
Right.
very good, except that the Torah says a Nazir has to bring a chatas. It didn't say why the guy became a Nazir. Every Nazir has to bring a chatas. So by definition, that means he did an Aveira.
Right. So I don't know what I'm saying, but it doesn't seem like people use
the
the
Torah
Nedarim to
assumes that if a guy wants to become a nazir, that of course it's for a good thing, and even though they still have to bring a chatas. They
Right.
want to elevate
That's what you're
themselves
saying.
spiritually, and even though they still have to bring a chatas.
Right. Enochanami. But no, I don't know. It seems like people are making nedarim is not a positive, right? Isn't that what it sounds like? See, because look at the lashon of the Ran is like you're being kal with nedarim. In Sanhedrin, the Korah Rishia bar tzadika, Rishia bar Rishia, klum hayisa neder. Meaning, if you would have known that we would be called Rishia bar Rishia, Russia bar a son of a Russia, right? Would you make the neder, right? So I don't know. It just seems like it's a yeah. So I don't know. I'm not sure. It seems like it's a negative. That's the problem. So you're embarrassing your parents by making the door, right? Anyways, so then Reb Tzadok says, okay, so you're embarrassing Hashem when you make a neder. So that means then you can do that too. You can use that as a pesach too. Tell a guy, hey, if you would have known that you would have upset Hashem by making a neder, because we know clearly, right, from what the Olam was saying, that Hashem does not want us making the door. So had you known that you were going to tick off Hashem, would you have made the neder, right? So he says, no, okay, so Rav Tzadok says, so let's extend Rebbe Eliezer to that. To which the Gemara then said, the Mishnah says, the fourth line down, Im Kain ein nedarim. Right? If that's the case, you're not going to have nedarim anymore. Right?
Why is that a bad thing?
Why is that a bad thing?
If Nedarim are bad, then cut them out.
Oh, so we have to see in the Gemara. Very good. Yes, we have to see in the Gemara, right? Because if Nedarim are bad, so great. So we won't have Nedarim. No, you're going to have Nedarim, but you're going to be matir every single one, right? Anyway, it's interesting because the Ran's girsa here is Amru Loi Im Kain Ein Nedarim. They said back to him, if that's the case, they said back to Reb Tzadok, if that's the case, there's no such thing as Nedarim. Okay. Then we go weiter. Moedim Chachamim, the Rebbe Eliezer, and this is important to Amud base. The Chachamim are moeded to Rebbe Eliezer, b'davar shebeinu lebein aviv ve'imai. If the guy made a neder between him and his parents, meaning something that affects his relationship with his parents, right? Meaning like he makes the neder that I'm not going to get hana from my parents or something like that. Then that we would use the covet of his parents as a Pesach. Right? Meaning, but not your standard, not what we were saying before that it's embarrassing his parents. I don't know what the guy is thinking, but the guy makes a neder not to get hana from his parents or not to give hana to his parents. So you go to the guy and say, by the way, it's a mitzvah daraisa, you got to give, or a chiyuv daraisa, you got to give respect to your parents. You got to do, So, had I known that, I would have never made the neder. Right? So that's a Pesach. That's what we're saying. That would be
we had this a little while back with the guy who made a neder about the chasana with his parents. No.
correct. Yeah, that's a good point. Very good. And he wanted to allow his father to come to the chasana. It's a good kasha, Taka. Why wouldn't they just be matir his neder based on the Pesach to the parents?
Right, I understand that.
That's what Aaron asked then. Aaron asked it at the time.
Did he?
Yeah.
I don't remember. What do we answer?
One of those 3 blots in a row. He asked the same question.
Did we have an answer?
Well, kind of. The Gemara wanted to give ways out of being matir neder.
Mm-hmm.
If being matir neder is not an option for him. He wants to keep the neder, but he wants a loophole.
So wait till we get to the 9th Perek.
Okay. Well, that's yeah. Okay, so why? Okay, but meaning this between him and the parents is a little different than the one before. Before it's just he's making a Pesach that his parents are embarrassed that he's a neder guy. Here it's just the Pesach is that he's not able to do the mitzvah kibbut aveim, so therefore he should be able to be matir neder. Fine. Okay, so that's that. So again, it's a Machlokes of Eliezer and Chachamim whether you can use your parents' embarrassment as a Pesach, but if the guy makes a neder against his parents, then the Chachamim agree that you could use the parents as a Pesach, right? Okay, that's important to know for Amud Beis. Fine. We have a Pesach by Noilad. Noilad means something new that developed, something new happened that was not there before. We'll see in a second. Chachamim say, no, you are not allowed to make a neder with something noilad, which we do paskin like the Chachamim. That's something, if there's a new development, you cannot use it as a Pesach. For example, Ketzad, the Mishna says a few examples. Omar, kainam, shani nena leish pliny, a guy says, I'm making a kainam, a neder, that I'm not going to benefit to this guy. V'nasa cipher, or he's not going to get benefit from this guy. V'nasa cipher, and then the fellow becomes a cipher, and then he needs tefillin, let's say, right? Now some say cipher, right? The Rush says cipher means the Rush says cipher means Talmud Chacham, and everybody needs him. And Tosfos says that it's a cipher, a scribe. He needs a scribe to write the ksubas, to write the shtaras. I don't know why he doesn't just say tefillin or something like that, but fine. Maybe then we would say mitzvah lav lahenes ninu. Could be that why. I don't know. Either way, so the guy, he makes a neder.
He doesn't have to have tefillin.
He could borrow.
Yeah.
I hear.
So but he can't borrow.
Right. I hear that. Well, maybe he could borrow from his friend who made a neder to Aser his wife, and now he has to get the from maybe it's from the neder club, right? Anyway, so the guy makes a neder from a fellow, and then the guy became a cipher. Or he's marrying off his son, right? I don't know why Dafka's son. And he says, had I known he to become a cipher, and that he would be marrying off his kid, neder, I would not have made the neder. So that's something that developed, right? Meaning he made a neder from this fellow. He got upset at him. He made a neder. I'm not benefiting from this guy. Then the guy becomes a cipher, or he's making a wedding. You see the same thing with weddings nowadays, that people like to run to weddings, and at least they used to, right? And it's the whole thing. So here too, and back then too, you go to make a wedding. Well, I mean, what's the big deal? Don't go to the wedding, right? Most people depends how fancy the wedding. So don't go to the wedding. No, it's
of the Farakaway 5 towns ever love running to the weddings in the sands.
That's true. That is true.
Not anymore, or not next year when the price goes up.
Right, it's true.
But they're taking easy pass, so it's going to be free, no?
No, they're gonna charge you $3.
No, I know, but I'm saying nobody knows pertains that they pay for the nobody chops, right? That's the whole thing with the easy pass. Either way, so for some reason,
I
It's
could
still
even,
on the parents' account.
I could even
Yeah.
figure out that it's cheaper than going to Lakewood, okay?
yeah. What do you call it? For some reason, it's a priority for this guy to go to his friend's kid's wedding. Okay. It's always the son's wedding, by the way, right? Like the story Aaron Kaplan was saying, right? The reason there's an interesting Tamayam and Hogim, because the Gemara in Bracha says that if you're nena from a Sudas Chasam, then if you're not misameach him, so you're over b'chamisha kolos, right? Or whatever, right? It's not a good thing. So Tamei Nogam says that's why the minig became that the kala pays for the meal, for the kala pays for the chasana, because then it's a sudas kala, not a sudas chasan. So clearly, from all these gemaras, it seems to be like the guys made the wedding, not the women, not the girl's family. Okay, whatever it is. So these were things that developed later. So it's going to be a machlokes between Rabbi Eliezer and Chachamim. Rabbi Eliezer is going to say that that's a good thing. You can be matir neder. You tell the guy, you ask the guy, would you have made the neder had you know you're going to miss these guys' kids' wedding? He said, no, I would never made the neder. Okay, so that's a Pesach. The Chachamim are going to say, no, that's not enough of a Pesach. You have to realize that that's the ramifications. When you make a neder, things could happen. Right? It's only, the Chachamim say a Pesach only applies when it was already when that scenario was already taken into account. Another case, he says, I'm making a neder that I'm not going into this house. And then they made the house into a shul. So you see, they make houses into shuls, parents. Yeah. Amar, and he said, Ilu had I known that it would have become a shul, that wouldn't have made a neder. So Rabbi Eliezer matir, Chachamim oiser. Rabbi Eliezer says all these things are mutter because a Pesach of something new, a new development is okay, and the Chachamim say that it's also fine. So then the Gemara said, now going back to, so we said Reb Tzadok says that we should say Rebbe Tzadok, right? It's not Reb Tzadok, right? It's Rebbe Tzadok says that you can even be matir and neder based on a Pesach that you didn't want to upset Hashem. So they said back to him, then there's no nedarim. So what does that mean? My ain't nedarim. What does that mean that there's no nedarim? So we have a machlokes. Amar Abaya, in Cain ain't nedarim nitarin yafa. You're not going to ever be able to be matir nedarim in the right way, right? So meaning why? Because every guy, when the Chachamim come to him and say, hey, would you have made this neder if you would have known that Hashem would be upset at you? Which guy is going to say, I don't care if Hashem's upset at me, I'm still making the neder? Right? I'm saying, you got to have a lot of chutzpah to say, I don't care about Hashem being upset at me. So we're afraid that the guy's going to say.
What was the guy's state of mind when he did it? Is that the question, or is it Lemafreya now retroactive?
No, even Lemafreya. The guy says, yeah, I was really upset when I made the neder, and had I known that it was such a bad thing to make a neder, or Hashem's upset at me, I would never have made the neder, right? So the guy is going to say that, even though he's still upset, and he would have made the neder, but he's not going to admit that openly to Rabbanim. The Rabbanim are going to throw him out of the shul, right? You say, oh, you're not sad. You're not upset that you're making Hashem upset, and he could taka think that he doesn't care if Hashem's upset. He's still so mad, right? So if that's the case, he's going to say that, oh yeah, Avada, I don't want to upset Hashem, so they're going to maybe matir his neder, but it's not legit. It's not legit, right? Because he really would be. He's just embarrassed to say it. So that's why Abaya says you're going to mess up if you start being matir nedarim based on what Rabbi Tzadok is saying. Then you're going to end up being matir nedarim when it may not necessarily be legit, because nobody is going to admit publicly that it doesn't bother him that Hashem is upset at him, right? So therefore, it's going to be an illegitimate matir neder. That's the way Abaya says it. On Tomei Beis, Rava Rava says, Im kain ein nedarim l'shalom l'chacham. What he means, what the Mishnah means to say back to Reb Tzadok, is that nobody's even go back to a chacham. If you're going to say that, I shouldn't have made that neder because now Hashem's angry at me. Oh, there's a Pesach. So what do you need a rabbi for? 3 guys in a coffee room could do that in yeshiva. You don't need a chacham for that, right? Anybody with any brains can say, I upset Hashem. Okay, so I'm out, right? So I'm not making the neder. So therefore, Rava says that's why we're not going to be matir nedarim based on that. Now, why do you have to go to a chacham? So the Rashi, the Mefarish says, why do you need a chacham for? I mean, if a guy has a Pesach, right? A guy has a legitimate Pesach. Why does he need to go to a chacham? The only reason why you have to go to a chacham, seemingly, is because he knows the halachas of nedarim. So you need him to paskin for you. But let's say I don't need the chacham. So then why do I need it? So the pasuk says lo yachel devaroi. The way we darshan it is lo yachel devaroi. Who, the third line down in the Rashi in the Mefarish, who eino moichel aval acherim moichlun loy. Others can be moichel for him, right? So meaning he's saying the way he's understanding it, the Mefarish, is that the guy might end up just being matir the neder all on his own. He'll just say, my neder is null and void because I didn't mean to upset Hashem. But when you really need others to be matir for you, right? So therefore, Rava says you can't have this because it would be too simple for people to be matir, and they're all going to do it on their own, which is okay. It's and let's say they do it on their own with others. So what's so shver? I'm not sure. Right? Let's say 3 guys get together and be matir his neder without a chacham. Which truth is really we do allow that nowadays. That's because we say there's no such thing as a chacham. Right? I don't know. It reminds me, I remember my father's
who certifies the chacham?
What?
Who's certifying the chacham?
I guess he has to get certified in the regular ways. I don't know. I remember my father's one of the Rava said, like when they came out with talk about technology, when they came out with the program to calculate Vestas, to calculate the woman's cycles, the computer program. So it was a big tumult whether you can rely on the computer program to do the calculations for you or you have to do it yourself. So one Rav in Eretz Yisrael came out and said that the reason why the computer calculations are no good is because it used to be you had to go to the Rav's house and ask him, and you see how the Rav lived, and you get to experience the Rav, and now they're not going to have that anymore because they have a computer program instead. That was his big taina, why you shouldn't have computer programs. Okay,
as we do Daf Yomi on the computer.
Correct.
Most of us in our pajamas.
So my father was not happy with that reason. Put it that way. He was
because if you look at the shade behind you, we could see that it's not straight, and you don't have your camera off.
So you're saying that's
so we get to see.
It's not my house anyway.
It's not like you're hiding it. We get to see what's going on.
Yeah. Anyways,
Byron, the cameras are on.
Yeah. Well, we got Notre Dame over there now. There we go. All right. So now the Gemara asks a kasha. Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah, Moedim Chachamim and Eliezer, right? We said that Chachamim and Eliezer have a Machlokes whether you're allowed to use a Pesach, the parents as a Pesach, the embarrassment of the parents as a saying like, I'm going to be matir my neder because I don't realize that my parents are embarrassed. So the Chachamim and Eliezer, when something between him and his parents, that we do give him a Pesach in the covet of his mother and his father, meaning we say to him, do you realize that you're not going to be able to honor your parents properly? And he says, I didn't realize that. So therefore, he can be matir the neder. So Bishlam ala Abaya, Damar Imkain ein nedarim nitarim. So according to Abaya, who says that the reason why we can't use the Pesach of Hashem being upset, because then we're not going to be able to be matir neder properly because the guy's going to lie. Because he's going to lie and say that he would not want to tick off Hashem when he really didn't care. So hacha kiven de ichtzifle here, since this guy had a chutzpah to make a neder against his parents, ha ichtzifle, so he had chutzpah. Right, that's where the word chutzpah comes from. Chitzah, right? He already had that. Right? So when he says, meaning this guy had enough chutzpah to make a neder against his parents in the first place. So now we ask him, had you realized that your parents would be, that you're not able to be a kibbut of aim? If he really taka didn't care, he would say the same chutzpah, right? He had the chutzpah to make the neder in the first place, and he'll have the chutzpah to say that, I don't care about kibbut of aim. And this that he's saying, no, I do care about it, must be that that's legit, right? It must be legit, and you could be matir that way. But according to Rava, who says that the reason why they told Reb Tzadok that you can't use Hashem being upset as a Pesach, because then people are just going to be matir on nedarim. So my paschin. So here, how can you use a Pesach, right? We should also not let him be matir the neder based on his parents, because he might end up doing it on his own, right? Meaning it's a simple way to be matir a neder. Right? The same way that Rava said that if to be matir a neder based on a guy not upsetting Hashem, so people are going to do it on their own. So that would be the same thing with a father. If somebody makes a neder against a father or a mother, and we ask him, would you do it if you knew you wouldn't be even kind kibbut of aim? And he would say, that's a simple way out. So he would end up doing it on his own without a chacham, right? So it's a kasha on Rava. So when it says Amri, no, we say kiven to kol nidre. Finally, we say the words kol nidre, even though it has no shaykhs to kol nidre, but we finally say kol nidre in nedarim. Took us 63 block, right? Amri kiven to kol nidre loy sagi lahain de lav chacham. Since all other nedarim besides for kibbut aveim, you need a chacham for. So hachanami paschin. So too here, he's also going to. We're going to give him a Pesach with his parents, and he's not going to mistake it. He's not going to mistake it for any other that he could be matir neder on his own.
Why do we draw the line here? We could have drawn the line anywhere. There's no specific reason why beinay lebeinay, and he had to know that he gets on his parent. Meaning, at least according to Rava, there's a specific reason why beinay, if he makes a neder that's beinay to his parents, that's the reason why. Since he was a chatzif to do that, we know he's going to be. He's not going to lie. He's not going to lie. He's going to be honest. But according to Abaya, why do we draw the line there? The only reason why his answer is that we draw the line there because it doesn't really matter that we draw the line there. Lamaisa, since there are cases that you already are placed in that other cases you can't use it. Therefore, here you're going to go to them and you're going to know it properly. But it's not. There's nothing specific about beinay to the parents that makes a difference. It's that.
Right. So that, I think isn't that what the.
But it's not. Why is it specific to beinay? Why specific to those scenarios?
No, I think isn't that what the Gemara is answering? That parents is no different than any other neder. Parents is no different than any other neder, right? And therefore, why should he confuse it and start thinking that he could be matir any neder? Masha Einkein, a neder from the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's every single neder.
No, the Gemara is asking specifically by the case that the Chachamim might to Rebbe Eliezer.
Correct.
The Chachamim Batzim hold parents making a neder to parents. You can't use that as a Pesach.
Right.
But the Gemara is saying that in certain scenarios, when you make the Mishnah is saying that even the Chamar Maida, in certain scenarios, when you make a neder to the parents, that it works. That you're able to be annul such a thing with the Chacham. But the shaila is why? What's the difference in these scenarios? So Rava said because since you're a chutziv, since you had a chutzpah to go ahead and make such a neder, we're going to believe you if you're not going to lie to them weiter when it comes to using it as a Pesach. But why should this be a difference in annulling a mitzad parents, using parents as a Pesach, according to Abaya?
I don't think it will. The
Gemara says it is. The Gemara says Well, the Mishnah is saying this specific case is where
Right.
the Chachamim are. Why this specific case? Why they
But
pick this scenario?
Because it directly affects his kibbut avaim.
Who
Other
cares?
than that, we could never do it.
Why this? No, but that's not the reason the Gemara gives to the difference. Why you're able to be Pesach with this one?
No, I don't think he means this one specifically.
Well, the Chachamim are mechalik. The Chachamim are mechalik when it comes to the parents. Which cases you could go ahead and be Pesach?
Right.
Why this specific case are you able to be Pesach? According to Bai, that's the Gemara's
Why?
kasha.
Correct.
So what's the Gemara's answer?
No, the Gemara is really asking. It's not really asking why this specific case.
What?
Gemara is just asking a kasha on Rava that you should aser, that you should.
How come my place then? Why in this case should it be different than every other case of a parent?
No, but this is going on the Reisha, on the first part.
This is going on what the Chachamim being Maida. The Chachamim are mechalik in parents.
No, I don't think so. No, I think maybe. I'm sure. Yeah, I hear. Right. No, I hear what you're saying. I'm not sure. I mean, it's all based on how you learn the kasha. Do you see the long run?
No, I know. There's two, but either way, it's totally in how you understand. Whatever it is, Abai is explaining the Chachamim to some degree.
Correct.
So, and the Mishnah is asking from the Chachamim. The Gemara is asking from the Chachamim's Haidah to Rebbe Eliezer. So, however you understand that, it's very specific to that scenario where he's the Chachamim might to Rebbe Eliezer.
Yeah, no, I hear. That's a good point. Right. Okay, but whatever it is, the Gemara's maskana is that it's not going to get confused. Meaning, to make a neder, to be matir neder based on upsetting Hashem, that can knock out every single neder. But by the parents, it's not going to knock out every single neder. The parents, there's not much chiluk between parents and other nedarim. Right? Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so you can use a Pesach of something that wasn't there before. Okay, my time at the Rebbe Eliezer. Why does Rebbe Eliezer say that we can use a Pesach of Noilad? So he says, so he learns it out. It says for all the people died, meaning Dasan and Aviram, right? Meaning the story. The Olam knows the story. Moshe Rabbeinu saw killed the Mitzri because he was starting up with the Yid. Dasan Aviram, so he killed him, buried him. Dasan Aviram ratted him out. He had to run to Midian. He didn't have to go to Midian, but he ran to Midian, and he made a neder that he's never going back to Mitzrayim because of those people who wanted him dead. Right? So when Hashem came to Moshe and told him it's time to go back to Mitzrayim, so he said, Ki mesu kol ha'anoshim. All those men that wanted you dead are dead themselves. So therefore you're good. Now that's a noilad, right? That's a new scenario. So basically what it is, it's Hashem sort of telling him that we could be matir your neder, that you're not going back to Mitzrayim because there's a new situation. Meaning, then would he have made the neder had he known that these guys are dead? And he would not have made it. So now they died. So in Mela, that's a new development, and therefore he could take back his neder. So you see that a new development, you can take back the neder. So the question is, there's a lot of kashas on this. Rebbeinu, this is more your department than me, right? So because it seems like he already was makayim the neder. In that case, he was makayim the neder. It's not being matir his neder. Right, we're saying on this that you can be matir the neder based on a new development. What do you mean? He kept his neder. He said, I'm not going back until they die. I don't know if he said until they die. That's part of the tumult. Okay, whatever it is. So that's what Rabbi Eliezer says. That you see that Moshe Rabbeinu was able to go back to Mitzrayim because these guys died. So Gemara says, for Hamisa the Noiladhu, death is considered a new development. Mikan shepaiskan b'noilad. So therefore you see that you could be paisach b'noilad. Yeah. Fine. So they'll go, okay. So Rabbanon. But then you have a different question. Let's see the pshat of time. We'll get back. Rabbanon my tamayu. And Rabbanon, so how come they disagreed? It's a pretty strong raya. So Kasavri, Hanu mi maisi, did Dasan and Aviram really die? Anytime it says the word nitzim, which means to fight, and nitzavim means to stand up. So Einan Ela Dasan Aviram. Anytime we have those words, it means that it was Dasan and Aviram, right? And Memela, Dasan and Aviram were still alive until Kairach, right? The way the Mepharish says it. He was really alive until Kairach. So how do you say that he died?
Is this one the first Machlokes Nigla and Mister?
maybe, right? Yeah. So Ella Amarish Lakish Sheyardim in Chsein was it means that they didn't die, they lost all their money. Since they lost all their money, so obviously once you lose all your money, so then you are good to go with where's Icky? He's not on because Elio, because we just had this conversation this morning or yesterday. Yeah, this morning.
I'm
right? Right. Once you lose your money, you have no influence whatsoever. So since they lost their money, they wouldn't be able to get Moshe Rabbeinu.
Isn't it still Nylon? I'm saying according to Rabbeinu, what would be?
It's a very good kasha, Akiva. So there's two things here. Okay, so anyway, so that's the Machlokes. Again, Rabbi Eliezer is saying that it meant that they died with the pasha, like Gershon was saying. The pasha pshat is that they died, right? It says Rabbi Hashem said they died, and the Rabbanon is saying no, it didn't mean they actually died. It means that they died because they lost all their money, so it's if they died, right? So that's what the Machlokes is contingent on, which is a very fascinating Machlokes, right? Whether you teach the pasuk in the pasha pshat or the not pasha pshat. Right, but there's so.
How do you learn? How do you learn Atem Netzavim Hayom Kulchem? It's nothing to do with Dasan V'Aviram.
L'chayra, that's when it's saying Klal Yisrael in that, right? That it's clearly referring to Klal Yisrael, but I don't know. You have a teretz to that?
Netzavim. I don't know. I'm just looking at the Gemara.
Yeah, so l'chayra means Nitzavim that were Nitzavim on Moshe. As opposed to Klal Yisrael, right? That's what I would think. But anyway, so the first issue is why is Misa Noilad? Right? Misa is a fact of life, or I don't know if that's the right way to say it.
Saying in terminology, it's the exact opposite of Noilad.
Yeah, you of course that's your type thing to say, exactly. But Noilad is not anything new. Right? Very good. Right? It's not anything new. Everybody dies. So you can't say, oh, what do you mean? You know, there's such a thing as a guy makes a neder, said, by the way, you know there's such a thing as death. I mean, everybody has that in their head. That's not a new development. Right? So why is that called noila? That's one kasha. Right?
Maybe
the other
kasha is manai.
I mean, it's not.
They died early. Yeah, they died early before their time.
Okay, but I'm saying, is that enough? Is that enough to call it a noila?
Wait, why? Who said they died early?
But they became poor right away.
Maybe a death an early death could be a problem.
The guys that died said they died early.
No, but this is 80 years after Moshe Rabbeinu left Mitzrayim. Almost 80 years.
No, but maybe the concept of noilad by death you could have if it's a premature death.
Okay, but this wasn't premature.
This was not. This was not.
But they're using this for noilad.
Yeah. That's one kasha. And then Akiva's kasha is, so why isn't losing money considered noilad? The Gemara is saying, because they lost their money. The Chachamim say that that's not considered noilad because they lost their money. Why is that not noilad?
It is noilad.
What?
It is. It was a development.
I'm sorry. It's noilad. No, but they're saying. One second.
It is noilad. It's just.
It's not. Well, I mean, they're saying that you don't have a proof from noilad. Because All they did was lose their money. Mamela, that's
that was
not
a development.
That's not a. That's not
The
a
people, the people that play the market every day are dying.
What do you mean? Because they lose money in the market?
Yeah.
No, it's not a physical death. It's a.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but there's that. What's that considered?
I don't know. So if your guy loses all his money, it's considered like death, but it's not a noilad. So you have to say that, yeah, it must be in people's eyes. Losing money is not considered something so uncommon.
So Tziyaka, you're being mechalik in whether it's common or not. Both of those are noilad cases. The Chachamim are matir. That's
not why. Not everybody loses. Does everybody lose their money at some point? So you could say yes, right? Gagal achayza.
Right, but my point is that everything is noilad, but it's just a question of frequency.
That's right. So that's what you have to say.
It is noilad.
Something that wasn't.
But if something's infrequent, you can't use that as a Pesach.
Correct. That's sort of what
noilad. Meaning they're masking that there are certain cases of noilad that you would be able to be Pesach in, but something that's infrequent, they're being chaylikin.
Yeah. That's basically what you have to say. That's what you have to say. That it's all based on frequency and what was in the guy's mind when he made the neder. That's what you have to say. What was it a how would you say reasonable? Was it expected to be? I don't know. There's got to be a better way to say it. Some reasonably expected, maybe, right or not. So maybe death is not. It sounds like death is not, but becoming poor is. Right. That's what you have to say.
The poskim that are matir using soap, and they say it's not noilad in Shabbos,
right?
Because that's what it's made for. Is that the same? It's
not, because you would say noilad for Shabbos means it's an entity that was there before that. It wasn't in existence. It wasn't in existence before.
Right. So the poskim answer it because it's a new. It's noilad. It's a new thing. It's a new existence.
Right.
The poskim that aren't say because that's what it's made for.
Not all noilad is also in Shabbos.
I don't know if that's to say. I'll tell you, now that you remind me, I'm in the middle of a little bit of a machlokes between Rabbi Brown and Rabbi Harfinis. I'm going back and forth, but I don't like to hop with these things. But you know those hotties, those things that you take in the winter, the chemicals and you shake it up and it becomes hot and you put it in
I saw somebody using it last Shabbos, Yaakov. Was that usher?
Oh, exactly. So is that usher or not? So I think Avi Sunday, I told Rabbi Brown said it's mutter. Right, so Rabbi Brown never heard of hotties, agav. I spoke to him last week about it. He was talking about, those labriot meals that you open them up and then it releases some sort of chemical and heats up the food. He never knew about hotties. But it's the same lumdus. So Rabbi Brown says you could put them on. He says he doesn't see why you can't make them go on Shabbos. I said, what about noilad? So Rav Harfinis told me, Avada, it's noilad. You can't make those things. If you want to use them on Shabbos, you gotta crack them or whatever, shake them up before Shabbos. Rabbi Brown says it's not noilad. Heat is not noilad. He said it's not tangible. Noilad has to be something tangible, right? These hotties, you're making them hot, but there's nothing tangible there.
If you can measure the heat, isn't that tangible?
I didn't go back to him at that time. What?
So what about
if you can measure the heat, isn't that tangible?
Is it? It's not. It's nothing physical. Like it's nothing physical. Just something got hot. He says that's not noilad.
If something gets frozen, ice cube. You can make ice cubes in Shabbos.
That's something new. It was liquid before. Now it's frozen. Now, first of all, not everybody agrees that that's noilad. Not everybody agrees. So those that hold you can make ice. What are you saying?
If the bubbles you create.
It's not cooking. I don't think it's getting hot enough to cook.
Yaakov, the bubbles you create from soap, that's not noilad? Meaning, isn't that a new type of
Some say that, so some do say that. I mean,
the bubbles are meaning. I don't care how watered down is it. What about the bubbles?
Right. So I mean, those bubbles go away. They're very temporary.
You created a different entity.
It could, but it's not really. It's a temporary thing.
Oh, so temporary creations are fine.
If it's going to go right back to it, that's where you get into the whipped cream from the spray.
Right, whipped cream has the same problem, right?
Right, but that it depends. If you spray that whipped cream outside in 100-degree weather, it's going to stay for about a second or two or 10 seconds. I don't know, whatever. I never
why does it
tried.
matter how long it
It's
is?
going to melt right back down.
So how many degrees you can use this spray?
The Harfiness, when I asked him about the spray years ago, he told me you could use it, but he didn't really know what it was. So I tried to describe it to him. So I don't trust my descriptions to any rabbis. But anyways, Dr. Zakharowitz, a grotto was by your son's chasana that I was talking to Rabbi Brown about it. But yeah, so anyway, so I got to go back to Rav Harfinus and tell him Rabbi Brown's taina. But either way, you see that
I have some of those if you want to do a demo with
yeah, no, I think he figured it out. He's smart enough man to figure out. But whatever. Okay, I don't know. So you see the different levels of noilads. Okay, so it's late already. It's an easy daf. This is supposed to be a quick daf. Okay, let's finish. Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Yeah,
it's a battery, no?
Kol adam she'ein lo banim choshev kameis. Anybody who doesn't have children is like he's dead. Shenemar hava li banim v'im ayin meisa anochi. Right? This was Rachel when she told Yaakov, one of the more interesting back and forths between the Avos, the Avos and Imos. Right? She says, "Give me children, and if not, then I'm dead." Right? So what's a pshat? She didn't say, I am going to die, but she says, I am dead, right? So you see, so somebody without children is dead. V'tanya arba chashuvin kameis. There are four that are chashuv like dead. Ani, mitzaira, somebody has tzara, suma, somebody is blind, and mishain lebanim, somebody who doesn't have kids. Ani, dichsiv kimesu kol anoshim. It says, and Ani says, because all the men died, right? That's talking about, like we said before, that's they lost their money. Mitzaira, tichsiv al nasi kameis. Don't be like a mace. This is we're talking about when Moshe and what do you call it? Not Moshe, Miriam got taras because of the lashon hara she said on Moshe.
So what does that mean? What does that mean? It's like considered like a mace. What does that mean?
I guess philosophically,
she's
they're
separate from everything, no? They put her out. The Mitzvah goes out of the mouth.
No, except if you're saying it's a mace, then why would you do the bris milah on the baby who had saras in the makam of the makam milah? If Khalila you're considering a mace, why would you do a bris on chas v'sholom?
Right. So you have to say that it's choshev kameis, not actual mace, even though you bring a raya that she said that I am mace, but she wasn't dead. She was talking, right? So you have to say that choshev kameis, but not mamish kameis. So right? It's you have to split the hairs. Right?
Okay.
They're like they're dead, which is fascinating because that kicks it back to the Gemara. So that means since they're choshev kameis, therefore we're learning out hilchos nedarim from a choshev kameis. Right? The Chachamim could say, oh, so that's we can't learn out noilad because they died because they lost their money. So now you're making a psak halacha based on that choshev kameis, right? Okay, I don't know. The summa d'chsiv machshakim hashivani k'meisei olam, going in the dark like the meisei olam. Umisha ein lebanim d'chsiv hava libanim v'im ayin meisa noichi. Right. So therefore, all these four things are they're like they're dead. Yeah.
Can you drink wine from somebody that's bekas because the kas is keilu over avodah zarah?
Right. Right. L'chayra, that's only keilu they did avodah zarah, but not mamash.
Yes. Okay. Here it's choshev kumeis. It's not. It's
right.
As if they,
Yeah. I hear. All right. I went a little long tonight. I would have wanted to finish to the Mishnah because Friday's daf is actually a regular sized daf. So tomorrow night, Bez Hashem, we'll do a little bit more. Friday's daf is very gishmak, so we can do some of it tomorrow. Tomorrow night we'll do a little bit longer. All right. Everybody should have themselves a fine night and stay away from nedarim. Yeah.
Mason also stay away from Mason.
Stay away from me. Well, you should Rachamim for sure. Right, that's another thing. Rachamim, so you can't hang out with poor people? No, because you're a kohen?
It's a problem on myself. It's a problem. Right. I can't hang out with myself.
Yeah, but you could be matama to yourself. Right? You could be matama to relatives, just not anybody else.
one of many wonderful things that came out of the wedding that you had the chance to speak to Rabbi Brown.
That's Baruch Hashem. That is true. That is true.
It's not this one.
Yeah.
He's saying b'metzias, any chemical reaction can't be considered cooking.
No. I don't think that's not the way I understood him. He's saying that creating heat. Are you going to argue on this one too? And you're going to say that?
No. I want to clarify. I know.
You have a prayer. You have a chazak on heat because you're from Phoenix.
No, that's only on solar ovens. We discussed it.
He was saying that heat is nothing. However you understand heat, it's chemicals, it's molecules moving around, whatever, right? So that's not anything new. It's creating heat, but there's no new creation here.
His question was not you're using it for cooking. His question was whether it's nylon. That's
correct.
And if it's more than yards or less, you decide to throw it in a pot of water. That becomes a different question altogether. It's like if you were to put water on a stove.
Well, that's true. That's a good point. Do you see that if somebody heats up water on Shabbos, that it would be an issue of nylon?
No, that's an issue of bishul.
No, well, let's say that. Right, but would it be an issue of nylon? No.
It's over water.
Right, no, heating stuff up in the sun is mutter, right? Heating something up in the sun is mutter. Why is it asur else nylon? You took cold water and created hot water. So it's a riot to Rabbi Brown.
No, you said before yourself. It turns right back into cold water after you take it out in the sun.
Right.
You know, so it didn't change.
It would be worse. It's mylid, not just mylid.
What? And what was Rav Harfness's? What's his argument?
I haven't gone back to Rav Harfness with that rebuttal.
Oh no, but I'm saying, what did he say to you, Stam?
He said nylon. He said nylon.
No.
Yeah.
Could you be mylid something that's not nylad?
Can you be over on mylid without nylad? Well, you're saying it should be mylid because like it's reach. Reach is nothing.
No, because he's something like that. Yeah.
Meaning when you spray your clothing with air freshener, so that's mylid. You're being mylid reach in a thing. So you want to say that what? You're being mylid heat.
Untangible.
You're taking this little thing of sand or whatever that's cold, and now you're making it hot.
Yeah.
So that's mylid.
Well, it's something intangible. You could be mylid that we see.
What? Oh, the lachara, you're right. Mylid, you.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe Rav Harford meant als mylid.
So as a side point, if you want to like play with chemicals on Shabbos, that's allowed?
Depends what the chemicals are going to do.
That's the ickiest question of icky that can ever happen.
Something like being salt and pepper.
No, I don't. They have like kids chemistry sets.
Okay, like sodium chloride and
I don't know.
Sodium chloride is salt.
What?
What's been going on these days? Something happened.
That's a good point.
Are you gonna have
NaCl.
Bill Nye the Science Guy playing in the background from Netflix?
Am I what?
Are you gonna have Netflix with Bill Nye the Science Guy playing in the background on Shabbos while you're doing that?
Number one, he's a little bit too left wing for me, so I definitely know Bill Nye.
Oh, because of the left wing part. You're saying the Netflix is going to be running streaming.
The Netflix already monitored.
Even in the minus, I'm saying
right. Whoa, icky. That's only if you don't have mishpach in your house.
Perfume. You're not allowed to spray.
I hear. That's a rabbi.
Only your body.
Only your body.
Well, there's a sheet that holds your
Icky,
body.
you have to choose. You either have a subscription to mishpach or Netflix for Shabbos.
We had. I think this was only on the morning call, but we have. Rabbi Stein had a better. He's one up the Netflix now.
What has he said now? Does he want to repeat
come
it?
Up with?
You're allowed to. It's better to eat in McDonald's than to go to a kosher restaurant and speak lashon hara.
Better to eat what in McDonald's?
Anything.
That's not. But that's, by the way, that's not one up. I'm telling you, if I say that tomorrow, it's not going to be as geschmack as telling somebody not to read mishpach on Shabbos. and rather he should watch Netflix. I'm telling
Agreed.
you, it's much better when you say watch Netflix over Mishpah.
Agreed, Akiva. I agree with you, but Lamaisa, it's
I
yeah.
said it over today, and it was not. People were bothered by the fact that it was true.
Should I
Tiago,
post
you
it?
need to send
Should I
out
post
two.
it?
You need to send out 2 texts a day. One
Tiago,
halacha.
if you post that right now, it's gonna really rile some people up. I'm telling you.
Maybe I should post it on Friday. Maybe.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Achnasol Shabbos.
Do it. Do 2 a day. Start 2 a days now.
Yeah. We'll have to.